Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, financial, or investment advice. Information presented is from internet or other news sources. Always do your own research and due diligence. We're not responsible for and expressly disclaim all liability for damages of any kind arising out of use, reference to, or reliance on any information contained in this broadcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Money and Change right here on the Trim Radio Network, better known as trimradio.com. And we go all over the world because we're on the internet. And I'll tell you what, a lot of stuff is going on lately, and hopefully you're not going to go down to Mexico. I hear that drug lord down there kind of bit the dust, and there's a lot of stuff going on down there. A lot of smoke rising from different places. So hopefully you're not going to Mexico. Anyhow, we've got so much stuff to cover tonight. Hopefully we can save you some money. And we're going to take a look at buying a house and whether or not it's going to be beneficial to either rent a house or to buy a house. And also we're going to talk about budgets and a bunch of other good stuff too. So before we get going, we always have to give a shout out to some people, because if we don't, the boss gets angry. No, he doesn't. Well, yeah, he does. Yeah, maybe. Anyhow, here's the Fab Four of the Trim Radio Network. We've got Michael Bejas, who's the founder and CEO. We have Rascala Stefan, who's the Chief Operating Officer, and he's responsible for the day-to-day operational management of the network and ensuring efficiency and quality. And then we've got me, and I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. They just keep calling me the Chief Relationship Officer, and I guess I'm supposed to maintain foundational trust and goodwill necessary for long-term success. Actually, we want you to watch the network. We really do. We've had a lot of good shows and more coming up too. We also have Victoria Smith, who's also the Chief Marketing Operating Officer. And she's in charge of marketing activities, brand development, audience growth, and creator acquisition strategies. Boy, that's a mouthful. Anyhow, she's got, actually, all of us have shows on the network. And Victoria's specialty is in marketing. So if your company or your sorority or fraternity or club or even school needs marketing advice, get a hold of Victoria Smith. And how do you get a hold of us? There's a red dot over here on the right-hand side. Click on it. If it stays up. There we go. And we put in your name and your phone number, and I want to know more about doing my own show. Yeah, you can do it. If I can do a show, you can do a show. But all you have to do is put down what you want to do. And if you want to know more how to contact Stu Shear, put it in there. Then down at the bottom, hit send the message, and somebody will get back with you with that information. Okay? It's very easy to do. But those are the Fab Four of the Trim Radio Network. Okay? Our shows. Wow, we've got some new shows coming up, and maybe I might be doing a third show. You don't know. We've got Money and Change right here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. We will have an encore edition if I'm in my concert season. I do play concerts during this summer and in the winter, and we're gearing up for those right now. And I think we have 5 concerts scheduled this summer. We might have a few more, but I will let you know. And when we do that, we will call it an encore edition. If it was good enough for Rush Limbaugh, it's good enough for me. Okay? And we'll have reruns of some of the past shows. And all you have to do is go to our Facebook site, Money and Change /financially prepped. And the shows will be listed there. But check us out every Sunday live, unless concert season, at 7 p.m. Okay? And after the show is done, it'll be uploaded to YouTube, and I will put the link on our Facebook page. So if you missed the show, you can get it there. Also, we have Christ. Um, I'm doing things backwards now. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm tongue tied. I'll tell you a little bit about that. A little bit that later. Life Walk with Christ God with Michael Bejas. He's on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then after Michael, I'm on with My World, Live, Laugh, and Whatever. And that's at Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And lately we have been talking about data centers. And I will have some more guests on Wednesday night talking about data centers. We'll have a little comedy on there too. But we have some very good people coming on. Also, we have Victoria Smith on Natural Marketer Podcast. That's every Thursday. So you want to check out that one. Offsides, college football with Michael Bejas. Even though football is over, I think he'll still be doing his show. Maybe he ought to do basketball too. Anyhow, we have the Positude Podcast. That's Friday at 8 p.m. We have Adventure Awaits Around the Bend at 1 p.m. on Saturdays. And then we have Ranch It Up with Tigger and Beck, and that's at 1:30 on Saturdays. And then, of course, you can't miss this show. The Red Pill Reality Show with Rastala Stefan. You have to check his show out. Saturdays at 9 p.m. I've been on the show. Other people have been on the show. He has a lot of different guests. He talks about a lot of different topics, and he does a really good job. It's from 9 until midnight. So you want to check his show out. Also, we have Let's Talk About It with Dora, and we'll be posting some more things about her show. And we have Revelation with Peter Kling, and we have room for others. So if you want to do your own show, it's very easy to do. All you have to do is just contact us, and we'll show you how it's done. It's very easy. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it. Okay. Well, how do you support us? It's real easy. Either donate to the network to keep us on the air, buy the merchandise, or advertise. And we have very good advertising rates too. But, if you want to buy the merchandise, that's fine. We've got T-shirts, we've got hats, we've got mugs, we've got T-shirts for adults that say Money and Change. We've got the Money and Change mugs. Check those out. We've got T-shirts with Offsides College Football Top 25. We've got polo shirts. We've got other buttons here at the bottom, and all you have to do is click number 2. And we've got kids T-shirts. We've got other mugs. We've got the round mouse pad. I bet you can't corner the mouse on that mouse pad. Anyhow, we've got the Trim Creators Dad's hat. And we have the embroidered beanies, and it's supposed to get pretty cold this weekend and next weekend too. So if you need a beanie, hey, contact us. Buy the merch. And we also have AirPod cases. So if you have AirPods, you're constantly losing them, and you want a neat place to store them, buy the rubber case for the AirPods from us. Okay, $19.95. It's a good deal. Wow, what else is going on? The Facebook page. And I keep hitting the button, and it keeps changing. I can't. I'm having a problem fixing that. And our Facebook page kind of looks like this. Remember I said Money and Change / financially prepped. Okay, that's us. And I always post stuff for the show in the header. Okay. And I did that today. And for some reason, that's giving me kind of a devilish look. I don't know there. Anyhow, down in the comment section, I cover everything that we're going to talk about tonight. And so if you take a look at different things there, we're going to talk a lot about weather. The American middle class, $955 saved for retirement. Yeah, a lot of people are in that boat. How to budget. We'll talk a little bit about that. Some housing for finance. Cash the king. Berkshire Hathaway says so. Are these the most dangerous fields of work? Yeah, they're listed, and a lot more. All you have to do is just go to that section, and the show information will be there. Also, hey, if you want, you can go to past shows and click on those. And we also put up here videos. The new bank rule: account holders will be shocked. Your money could be at risk. So you want to check out that YouTube show. And here's our past edition of Money and Change with all of our different topics that we covered last week. Okay. And also emergency communications for everybody. Stay connected and be prepared. You can't say I didn't tell you. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, right here, this is a Ocean 935G Plus with a Nagoya 771G antenna. It's a GMRS radio. And I want to tell you what, in a snow emergency like they're having on the East Coast or any place, any natural emergency, if your family has a GMRS radio, they can use your license, and everybody in your immediate family can use these radios and contact each other. Now, this one goes from my location to Dayton, Ohio, 35 miles away to a repeater, and it gets up 90 miles beyond that. And so a lot of people would have their relatives in very close proximity. You can use these radios and communicate. A license, hey, there's no exam. It's only $35 for 10 years. That's $3.50 a year to use the radio. And you have a lot of fun. I get on there every night, and I'm talking to different people, usually in the Dayton area, the Springfield area, and occasionally over in Indiana. And it's a hobby. But in an emergency, you can contact different people. Okay. A lot of different people I talk about, in some cases, the Prepper Princess, and that's Amber Stork. And there are videos on here about Amber and all the stuff that's going on. And I have other friends on YouTube. Dave Kobler, check his YouTube show out, please. Southern Prepper One. And Dave is talking about the economy and everything else. I might put a link to his latest video on our page too. But remember, after this show is over with, I will post it right here on our Money and Change / Financially Prepped website. Okay. Hey, there's my buddy Mark. Anyhow, what you need to do, it's one of those days, dry air, and just makes you itch. Hopefully I don't itch too much during the show. But anyhow, when we're talking the show and different people watching, it's easy to join our group. Just ask, hit that red button and say, hey, I want to be added to the Money and Change / Financially Prepped shows group. It's very easy to do. Also, I've got people from Myanmar, which used to be called Burma, in India, South Africa. I've got people in Nigeria that listen to the show, as well as North America and Europe. And it's amazing because we go all over the world, and it's great. And if I can help somebody save some money, it's worth it. If I can help one person, that's fantastic. If I can help 2, 3, 4, 5, or 20 or whatever, that's great. That's all we want to do. Any of our shows are that way. So you want to check out the Money and Change / Financially Prep page several times a week because it will be updated. Okay. And there will be different videos on there. Hey, what's going on? Oh, yeah, we've got a potential nasty, nasty storm up the east coast of the United States. And I think they will classify it as a nor'eastern or a, what do they call that? A blizzard bomb, I think is what they call it. Well, anyhow, the National Weather Service talks about storm preparation. You know, are your cell phones charged? Do you have an extra spare battery for it? Do you have water? Do you have snacks? Do you have hats, boots, mittens, whatever? How about a good first aid kit? Flashlights, jumper cables, spare tire. On new cars, we don't have spare tires. That's a bummer, isn't it? Um, Also snow shovels and brushes. How about blankets, tow ropes, sand or kitty litter in case you get on a slippery surface? Fuel tank full of gas. How about flares? A lot of things to consider. And I'll tell you what, I have a bag that's in my trunk right now. And during football season, I can take that and load it with a blanket and all kinds of stuff for football season and wet weather gear. But now it's cold weather season. And what I do with that bag, I have a couple of blankets in there. I have gloves. I have hat, woolen hat or beanie. And I have batteries, flashlights. I have some um, protein food in there. I don't put water in there because it tends to freeze in the wintertime. So I'll bring that with me and keep it, in the main part of the car and not in the trunk. And, I have flares. I have little discs that are LED battery powered. And they put out a bright rotating beacon. I have 6 of them in the kit. And I got them and they're magnetic and you can put them on the side of the car, on top of the car, put them down on the ground or whatever, and you can cause them to do different flash patterns. It's really a neat thing. And they're bright. They're almost as bright as the flares. And I've got some flares too. But you want to be prepared, especially if you're on the East Coast right now. And if you want, you can take your GMRS radio with you and you can put that in the car with you and you're set to go. So it's time to be prepared, okay, especially on the East Coast right now with the nor'eastern. Um, Here's the potential storm. It's the worst blizzard decade, set to hammer the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And this is done in zero hedge. But it's a major winter storm that's going up the East Coast. It'll have blizzard conditions. Power outages are expected. Wind gusts of 40 to 70 miles an hour are expected from coastal New Jersey to southern New England. And these strong winds combined with the weight of heavy wet snow should result in scattered to numerous power outages. Power outage? Hey, do you have a generator? Do you have a solar setup? Do you have rechargeable batteries? Things that you ought to consider having, especially during conditions like this, okay? And if you don't doubt me, here's the February nor'easter. And there it is. You can see how nasty it is. And if you don't want to have your power out, then that's where you have the backup batteries. And I have a couple of large ones that I can use to power a lot of lights or my refrigerators or freezers without any problems. And I keep them charged up and I test them a couple times a year and they're good. The trouble of it is moving them around because they're about 60 pounds on wheels just to move. But if we run out of power, I will have power probably for a couple of days. And I have solar panels I can put outside too to charge. I also have a gasoline propane generator that I could use if necessary. So, it pays to prepare. Do you have spare food? Do you have spare water? It's an important thing. And I'll tell you what, when the snow gets up to maybe a foot to 2 feet deep and you're not going outside, hopefully you've got plenty of toilet paper. Hopefully you've got plenty of paper towels. Hopefully you've got paper plates and you've got canned food. And if you haven't prepared, maybe after this storm, you'll say, I'm going to start preparing right now. It's that important. Okay. Please don't second guess it. Be prepared, because tonight and Monday could be nasty. Okay. Wow. What else is going on? These are the most dangerous fields of work. This was in Zero Hedge. And I saw that today and I thought, oh, yeah, we better put that on the show. A lot of workplace injuries happen, whether or not you're working in the factory or on the farm or in a store. I mean, somebody could be waxing the floor or cleaning up a spill, and you walk by and boom, you're down on the ground. And hopefully you don't hit something or break something on the way. Okay. But the most dangerous fields of work, I'll bring that chart up here. Whoops. What am I doing here? I expect my privacy too. So much for that statement. Okay, the most dangerous fields of work. Fatal injuries per 100,000 workers in the U.S. in 2024 by occupation. 22.1, farming and fishing and forestry. And that can happen. Transportation and moving materials. Construction and extrication. We've got protective services, including law enforcement, 8.2. And I would imagine being in the fire department would be the same thing as 8.2. And then 6.9, we've got building and grounds clearing and maintenance. And then we've got the building, grounds, cleaning and maintenance. And all occupations total 3.3. The big thing to remember is if you are at work, even if you're at home or out on the farm or fishing or walking in the woods, be careful. Watch where you walk. Watch what you do. Keep your balance. But those are the most dangerous fields of work. What else is going on? Video is what we've got. And let's see if I can round this dude up, because these things like to move on me. So let's listen and see what they have to say. Right here. Let's see if I can get it going.
A majority of Americans are pulling back on retirement saving, with 51% either stopping or reducing their savings in the past 6 months. And it's Gen Z that's driving that trend. For more, we're bringing Yahoo Finance senior columnist Carrie Hannon. All right, Carrie, so fill us in here. What is going on with Gen Z?
Hey, Josh. Yeah, great to be here. Yeah, no, this shouldn't be terribly surprising, but in fact, it's a pretty big number. 6 in 10 of the older Gen Zers, we're talking those 18 to 29, reported to Allianz in their survey that came out this week that they had stopped contributing to the retirement savings, or they had reduced it. And this is a really big deal. And it gets me up in arms about it, because it's so hard to understand at that age how important the earlier you can start setting money aside will be for you in the long run, right? Because it seems like it's decades down the road. And for this generation, you're in your 20s, you're at an entry-level salary, you might not be getting a big pay raise, and you have lots of pressure. You're feeling the squeeze. Costs have gone up, you have housing costs, you have rising credit card debt perhaps, or college loans, student loan debt. I mean, this is when you're feeling pressured like this, it's so easy to understand why someone in this age group says, you know what, this is an easy lever to give me a little relief. I can just pause this right now and do something else. And so it frees up that cash. They don't have that cash cushion. But Josh, it's the old statement, it's the time value of money. If you can start in your 20s, even setting a small amount aside, and even a low return, say even 5%, if you looked at that down the road, decades ahead at 65, what that would be worth, and how meaningful that is to you, is really something that's hard to explain to somebody at that age. But this is a big mistake to cut back there.
So let's do this for the Gen Z viewers, Carrie, who are listening to this. Tips and tricks. What would be your guidance, Carrie?
Oh my gosh. The most important thing is, okay, I think cutting back your retirement savings, even if you're setting aside a small amount, is not the place to go. I totally get feeling the squeeze. The best thing you can do is do that budget. Where can you get lean and mean? Is there somewhere else you can find savings? If it's the credit card debt that's freaking you out, is it possible to move to a credit card that has a balance transfer that has zero interest for a period of time to give you some relief there? Where else might you get that relief, not from pulling back from retirement savings? And so the second thing you should do after you really do some soul searching there is, can you automate? A lot of us already automate our retirement savings if you're with an employer plan, but don't give up on that automate. It's something that's out of sight, it's out of mind. If you can ratchet it up, even that auto escalation. Generally speaking, these are small amounts of money you're doing right now. It's not a huge percentage. And if you're doing it pre-tax, particularly into an IRA, into your employer plan, or even if it's after tax in a taxable brokerage account, if you can automate this, Josh, it's going to really make it easier for you to just set it aside and focus on where else you can cut back.
Great advice, as always. Thank you, Carrie.
Let's get to some individual names, too. We've talked about the sort of...
Well, we don't need to get to individual names, do we? We need to get on with getting on, right? Well, I did some searching here on artificial intelligence. Yeah, I used it. And I started looking at different things. And budgeting a personal finance situation involves tracking income and expenses. And you set financial goals and assign every dollar a purpose to ensure you spend less than you earn. And remember, I've always talked about living on less. Yeah, all you have to do is live beneath your means. That's the key. Popular methods include the 50-30-20 rule: 50% needs, 30% wants, and 20% savings, or zero-based budgeting, which aligns with tracking monthly expenses and creating a plan to manage savings, debt, and essential costs like housing and food. We all need housing, we all need food, right? Also, transportation. The steps to budget your finances are listed here. Calculate your net income. What do you get after taxes have been taken out? Not the gross, but the net. Then you want to track your expenses. What do you have to pay for rent? What are your utilities, your insurance, other expenses like groceries, entertainment, and gas? Now, if you just depend for entertainment, just TV, or going out fishing or something like that, hey, that's fine. But you want to track those expenses. You want to figure out your budget strategy, like we said, the 50-30-20 rule. Zero-based budgeting: assign every dollar a job, so income minus expenses equals zero. And part of that zero is going to be your savings. You want to set your goals for emergencies, for retirement. And for retirement, you need about 15% of income at the minimum. And you've got to plan for short-term goals and vacations. For example, when I was working in Cincinnati, I took a big cut in pay from private business. But I made it up within about 5 months. And then I started exceeding everything. Well, during that 5-month period, I had to budget my money like you wouldn't believe. and I had to watch everything because I lost basically 5 months worth of income. It was a lot more reduced than what I normally had been making because now I wasn't making bonuses. But in the long run, I would more than make up for that. So, I had to do that for 5 months. And I had to be very careful on what I spent for transportation. I had to pay for parking in downtown Cincinnati, and that's my job. I had to be mobile enough. I had to go to several different counties, different days, different meetings, and so forth. I couldn't take the bus into work. So I had to have my transportation available. So I had to plan on that. I had to plan on gasoline usage, what I had to pay for parking at $5 a day. And now it's a lot more than that. But I had to plan on that. Lunches. I mean, how much could I spend for lunch? How much could I spend for maybe if I wanted to buy a newspaper? Okay. I had to really budget things. And then after that 5 months period were up, I was doing a lot better with income, but I still had to budget. I still had things I had to pay off and make sure that payments were never late. And that's one of the big things. I was reading something somewhere where, if you paid off something early or within $10 of that amount, and then when the bill comes, then just pay the $10, that's fine. And your credit level is a lot better. Your rating is a lot better that way. I like to put a little bit of money in advance in one of my credit cards. And that way there's a hedge in there. You say, well, gee whiz, what happens if you have an emergency? Well, there's money in there for that. They might make it on the interest long term, but if I know how much I've got in there and I know that I have to go to Costco or I have to go to Sam's Club or I've got to go to the dentist and pay for fees there or whatever, it's available. Okay. And then I just make up the difference at the end of the month. And that seems to work for me. It really works the best. What else is going on? Well, set your goals for emergencies, and that emergency savings. Oh man, put $10, $20, $30, even $50 a week back, because you never know when you're going to need new tires for your car, a brake job. Okay. You might need dental work, whatever. Build up that emergency account and don't mess with it. Build it up to a sizable amount. And I'll tell you what, if you keep $1,000 in there, in that emergency fund, that's great. And that would be about the minimum I would want to keep in there. And how do you do that? Well, you can take money out and put it in an envelope. You can do the envelope routine. It's very easy. You have an envelope for everything. So when you get paid every 2 weeks or once a month, you put your money in that envelope. And you just divide it up amongst all the different categories you've set up. It does work. And I believe Dave Ramsey did that. Hey, how about housing? Housing's getting expensive. I had a friend of mine that was looking at getting a condo, and she was saying, well, gee, it's $1,700 a month. And I said, well, what are you paying right now? And she said, $1,200. Well, why don't you stay where you're at? Well, I want to change. Okay, well then you're going to be paying more for it. So you could buy a house, you could rent a house, or you could change and buy a condo or rent a condo. Okay, it can be done. Here's something I picked up today, and you want to listen to these guys.
Let's say, Bruce, the Trump administration, Congress, state, local, they figure out a range of policies, a policy mix, so that they do make it easier for more Americans to buy a home. How do you think through that? Because you're looking through it through a different prism. I mean, what would that mean, Bruce, for your company and your industry, the build to rent industry?
Right now, Donald Trump needs to do something about the confiscatory interest rates that banks are charging people on their credit cards. That is causing housing affordability to be hampered. Let's get these banks to stop charging 24% interest. Let's get these mortgage companies to come down a point or two, and then people can afford to buy houses. On build to rent, our industry is 97% leased. We're almost at full capacity, but Donald Trump and cities and states around the country want to enact laws that make it tougher on us to deliver houses, when in fact, by us delivering brand new houses, it creates more stock, it creates more houses in each one of those cities that we serve.
I just put a number on the kind of growth your industry has seen, Bruce. Per reports I'm reading, since 2012, more than 321,000 build-to-rent homes have gone up in the U.S. More than 3/4 of that new supply was built in just the past 5 years. You know, any update on how business is going for you, Bruce, since the last time we spoke?
Sure, it's slowed down a little bit. You know, we have interest rates that we have borrowed on that are challenging too, our high interest rates, material, labor, but we have literally a lack of supply that we can offer the general public. We cannot build them fast enough. We cannot buy them fast enough. The public is clamoring for these build-to-rent homes, and we just can't keep them. We just can't keep them built quick enough. We're 97% leased.
Let's say, Bruce.
Let's say, Bruce, and I think we talked to Bruce before. I'm having a problem with my mouse. I think that's probably part of the reason that I have to double click on things. Who knows? Maybe it's time to put the mouse out of its misery and get another mouse. Wow, buying a house. Wow, let's take a look at what I've got here. I did some research on AI. Sometimes artificial intelligence is pretty good. But you know, when you're looking at buying a house versus renting a house, if you rent, you can always pack up and leave unless you sign a 1-year lease rent situation. And if you buy a house, you're going to be there for a while. And so it's called job security is what you need to have to stay in that house for a year. What happens if you would buy a house and then suddenly get transferred across the state or out of state? That causes a problem too, especially when you start a new job. Now, in my case, when I was in Cincinnati, I had an apartment. And later on, I had a condo. And then after that, I switched again, got a promotion, and I went to a different location in Columbus, Ohio. And it was a statewide job, and I had to be living in the Columbus area. So it was Upper Arlington. And from there, I would drive to work every day, and whatever the assignment would be, I might be going to Toledo. I might be going to Columbus area locations, or I might be going to Cleveland, or all the way back down to Cincinnati again. And so I had to have an apartment there. And up in Arlington was not a cheap place to live. And then after another promotion, I ended up going to Dayton, Ohio, and I used that office as a central spot because now I had half the state that I had to cover. And so I finally said, okay, I'm going to be here quite a while. I'm just going to go ahead and buy a house. And I did. And I had money saved up for the house. And I bought a nice ranch style house. And it's midway between Toledo and Cincinnati. And Columbus isn't too far away. It's 80 miles to Cincinnati. It's 80 miles to Columbus, and almost 100 miles up to Toledo. So I'm in a fairly decent area. Well, that was many years ago, and I've since paid off the house. I don't owe anything on the house. I haven't owed anything on the house for 10 years. I don't even owe anything on my car. which is a good position to be in. Well, anyhow, buying a house is generally better for long-term wealth building, stability, and tax, according to AI. And renting is often superior for short-term flexibility, lower upfront costs, and avoiding maintenance, especially in high interest rate environments. And the decision depends on how long you plan to stay in your financial situation. With buying a house, you can build equity in the house, and the payments contribute to ownership, building long-term wealth rather than paying a landlord. Stability, fixed rate mortgages offer predictable long-term housing costs. And then you have tax advantages. Then you have total control of the ability to renovate, remodel, or make the home your own. And then you have hidden costs responsible for taxes, insurance, repairs, and so forth. HOA fees. I found a place in Florida I thought I was going to actually move to, and it was great. The price was right. It was in the Clearwater Beach area, and I thought it was great. Had an overlook of the Intercoastal and the Gulf. It's a beautiful area. And I thought, boy, this would be really great. And then I looked down way at the bottom, fine print, the HOA cost, Homeowners Association, was $750 a month. Well, that kind of canceled that deal. Other than that, it was a beautiful location. It was right next to the Bel Air Country Club too. And it was a really nice area. Okay, you have to do what's really right for you, and you buy if you plan to stay for 5 or 7 or more years and have a stable income and can afford the down payment, closing cost, and you want to build up some home equity. And then rent if you have to move soon or prefer to avoid maintenance responsibilities or have limited savings for upfront costs. So a lot of things you can check on there. What's the best thing for you? Only you can determine what's good for you. How about the national debt clock? Oh my God, they sneaked something in on me. Oh no. There we go. They always have something crazy on here, and they want you to look at different things. Our national debt right now is 38,720,674,000,000, almost 675. There it is, 675 million. And the debt per citizen is $112,841. And per taxpayer, it's $355,350. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't carry that much cash. I wouldn't even want to be able to write a check for that. That's a lot of money. Not very many people have $355,000 in change laying around, okay? We would be a lot better off if the government would just stop spending our money. Stop giving it away to crazy causes and stuff. I was looking at Doge the other day, and I was thinking, oh man, what's going on with Doge? And it got to the point where they were saving us some money, but were they really saving us that much? I mean, we're so far in debt right now. It's pathetic. The tariff revenue right now, they're saying is 374,686,438,000 and climbing. And that means about $3,247 per taxpayer. Okay. If they can go in and clean everything up and tell the Congress not to spend the money, we'd be a lot better off. A lot of times they're finding out that they're putting it in some crazy adventures overseas, and maybe they might be getting a kickback. Well, guess what? Doge is looking into that as well as the Department of Justice. So we'll see if anybody's playing some funny books, if you know what I mean. Tax revenue. Hey, it's tax season. You got your taxes ready? I've got all my information gathered, but I have to put it in order, and then I have to take it to the accountant because I let them handle it. I don't need the frustration. That's why I let the accountant handle it, because that way they're responsible, and ultimately I'm responsible for paying everything. Okay. But do you have your taxes done? Some people already have them done and I'm in the preparation part because I'm always getting something late. And if I send it in early, it waits to the end to be processed, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm waiting on one other thing to come in, and then I can put it together in a packet and send it to the accountant. And hopefully she gets it within another week. Wow, what else? If cash is king, oh, I saw this today, and this was something else. Berkshire Hathaway leads the world, and here's the chart of it. And you take a look at it, the largest cash piles. We've got energy and the different companies, BP, E, and Shell, and other companies, okay? We've got the alphabet, Meta, SoftBank, Rakuten. I've never used that one. Tencent, I've never used that one either. Look at the money there. Then you take a look at Amazon. You think Amazon was a big one? Well, they're at 126 billion. Volkswagen is at 77 billion. GM is at $31 billion. Toyota's at $51 billion. They're in their own little group. Then we have Microsoft, Intel, Dadu, Tech, K2, NVIDIA. And then we have industrials. But then we have Berkshire Hathaway right there. And we have HKEX. We have Charles Schwab, IHC, Interactive Brokers, American Express, CITIC. We have Daiwa, and we have SBI, and there are a couple others that I can't even read. Well, anyhow, out of all of these companies, if you had money to invest in it, I mean, who has money to invest? Okay. If you have your emergency fund, you have a development fund or whatever, you could look at different things. I'd be looking at Berkshire Hathaway and saying, okay, what are they doing? How do they get their money? What are they looking to put it in? And then I'd probably look at Amazon and look there for everybody in their group. Then I might look at Alphabet and Meta. Rakuten, I don't know about. But I look at the people in this group and I say, okay, these are the biggest cash piles. So where would I want to invest my money? And you might say, well, hey, you might want to put it in Vanguard. You might want to put it in BlackRock or others. I'm going to leave the investment part up to you guys because the investments I have are all in mutual funds. Okay. So that way, if one company takes a big hit, it's spread out over everybody in that mutual fund. And so far, I haven't lost money. Matter of fact, this last year was a very good year. And hopefully, with Trump in the White House, everything it gets a lot better. Hopefully. Maybe. Kind of, sort of. Well, anyhow, if you have extra money and you want to put it into precious metals, you can do that. But you look at gold right now, it's $5,166.70 an ounce. It's up $40.30 with all the stuff that's going on over in Iran and down in Mexico and so forth. People are saying, okay, I'm going to buy precious metals and I'm going to keep them as a hedge on calamity. And so they go ahead and buy gold. Now, the big bars are too heavy to carry around. You couldn't even fit them in your pockets. But if you bought an ounce, I'm going to say, and we could check it out here. And I'm only using APMEX as an example. There's silver.com and a whole bunch of other places. It's just that when I want to go look for something, APMEX pops up the most, but $5,166, almost $67. Take a look at the gold prices, and you can take a look at whatever they have. American Eagles. Let's see what they have here. Okay. You can sort by product. Tenth of an ounce, $593.56 for a tenth of an ounce for an American Eagle. Okay. You can go on up. You can get from 10th ounce, you get half ounce at $2,750.84 for a half ounce American gold coin. You can get the premier 1 ounce Eagles for $5,400.69. That's a lot of stuff to carry around. Okay. But then there's silver. Silver's what they call poor man's gold. And right now it's up $9.73. Well, $87 for a 1 ounce coin. That wouldn't be too bad. And you can invest in those, because I remember getting some silver probably 10, 15 years ago, and it was something like $15.62 for 1 ounce silver coin, silver eagle. And look at it now, it's over $65. And sometimes it goes up as high as 100 or 117. I think last week at one point it was worth $117. Yeah. So you buy low and sell high. So, you can check out the prices there. The 1 ounce silver bars, they're hard to trade. The 1 ounce gold coins, the silver coins, those are the ones I prefer to deal in, but then you have to store them in a very secure place, a vault someplace. I don't have that many, but they are well secured. But in a calamity situation, you want to be able to store them safely, and it's a hedge against any type of a financial collapse. So you need to do that. Also, there's something else. Go to FDIC.gov and check on the failed bank list. And if banks are not doing very well and they get bought out by another bank because the FDIC says you have to have somebody take you over, see if your bank is on that list. If it's on that list, I would worry. Luckily, right now, I think we've only had one bank, and I couldn't tell you where it's located. I was thinking it was in Philadelphia, or it could be out in California. But check out the failed bank list. Anybody can get to it. Just go to FDIC.gov. Okay. What else is going on? Oh, cryptocurrencies. Oh, yeah, banks. I was reading some things on cryptocurrencies and what happens if you go to sell it or cash them in. Well, who does it? Well, Lloyd's Group, Halifax Bank of Scotland, it's allowed. Barclays, it's restricted to a certain amount. Nationwide, it's restricted. HSBC, and that's the Hong Kong Singapore Bank in the United Kingdom. That's restricted. Metro Bank, Starling Bank, TSB, Chase UK, and Wise Bank. There's the chart. And I've always told people, if you have cryptocurrency, it's all based on ones and zeros. And can you spend it? It's very difficult to do that. If you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't bounce it on the floor and have it roll around, make a lot of noise, then it's not worth keeping. Some people say, well, I made some money on it. Well, yeah, you bought low and sold high, but that's just not the way that I like to do things. Cryptocurrencies based on ones and zeros, you put it in a digital wallet. And if somebody gets your password and breaks into your wallet and takes your digital money, whether it's Bitcoin or XRP or XLR or whatever, it's gone. You'll never get it back. And if you forget the password to get in, you'll never get your money there. So it's better to go with fiat currency, gold, silver, anything but crypto. I'm telling you, just words to the wise, okay? If you want to get involved, go ahead and do it. I don't recommend it. Okay? Wow, with that, guys, we're going to cut it short a little bit tonight, but I'll tell you what, this week on My World, which will be on Wednesday, I've got guests coming. We're going to be talking about data centers and some of the problems that are out there with data centers. And we'll be talking about maybe electrical use, noise pollution. You know, last week we had somebody on that would basically live within, I believe it was 100 feet or 500 feet of a potential data center and all the racket that it would create. Low data hums coming out of the facility. Is that helpful for you? I don't know, but we'll be talking about that this Wednesday on My World at 8 p.m. So join me for some live guests, okay? We'll have a little comedy there too, but I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about this data center business because I'll tell you what, a lot of it's going on. And today I was picking up some stuff that data centers with Les Wexner in Columbus, Ohio, actually out in New Albany, which used to be a small town, and now it's gotten bigger, more affluent. It's got a lot of data centers over there, or potential data centers going in. So what's that going to do to the community? Okay. It has to do with the economy too. So you want to check into that. Well, anyhow, guys, that's all I've got right here on Money and Change. Locked out, debanking the UK signal. Was I going to talk about that? No, I'm not. I'm going to talk about me. Check with me Monday for the replay for the show. Also, make sure that you check with us on Wednesday on My World because we're going to be talking about the data centers. With that, have a good week. Set yourself a budget. Follow it. Save your money. Prepare for bad times. With that, have a good week.